The fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor had long since burned themselves into Marcus Webb's memory, harsh, unforgiving, just like the mountain of medical bills that had buried his family. Now, standing outside the Grand Meridian Hotel in a borrowed suit that hung slightly too loose on his frame, he felt that same sick fluorescence in his chest, a reminder that he didn't belong here among the crystal chandeliers and champagne flutes. But his daughter needed him to be here. 7-year-old Emma was battling leukemia, and this charity gala, thrown by tech billionaire Richard Castellano for childhood cancer research, was her favorite topic lately. She'd made Marcus promise to go, to see the Princess Ballroom. She'd watched in online videos from her hospital bed, to maybe even thank Mr. Castellano for helping kids like me. Marcus had held her small hand, feeling how fragile her fingers had become, and promised. It was the least he could do when he'd already failed at so much else. The doorman barely glanced at Marcus's legitimate invitation before waving him through. Inside, the ballroom took his breath away. Emma had been right, it did look like something from a fairy tale. Massive floral arrangements cascaded from tables draped in silk. A string quartet played softly in the corner. And everywhere, were people who belonged. Women in gowns that probably cost more than his annual salary. Men in tailored tuxedos discussing mergers and acquisitions over tiny, artistic appetizers. Marcus grabbed a glass of water from a passing waiter and found a corner near a marble column, trying to be invisible. He'd take a few photos for Emma, maybe grab some literature about the research being funded, and slip out before anyone noticed he wasn't one of them. "Excuse me, are you alone?" Marcus turned to find a young woman, mid-20s, with kind eyes and a simple black dress that somehow looked more elegant than all the glittering gowns around her. She had her father's eyes. He'd seen Richard Castellano's photo in enough news articles to recognize the resemblance. Yes, Marcus stammered. "I'm just here too." "Perfect. I'm so tired of my father's business associates. Would you mind terribly if I joined you?" She didn't wait for an answer, just smiled and stood beside him. "I'm Sophie." "Marcus." He shook her extended hand, confused by her warmth. "What brings you here tonight, Marcus?" The honest answer felt too raw, too real for this place. But something about Sophie's genuine smile made the words tumble out. "My daughter, Emma. She has leukemia. She wanted me to come, to see this place. She thinks your father is some kind of superhero because of the research he's funding." Sophie's face softened. "How old is Emma?" 7. She's the bravest person I know." Marcus's voice cracked. "I work 2 jobs, but it's never enough. The bills, the treatments." He stopped, horrified at himself. "I'm sorry. You don't need to hear this." "No," Sophie said quietly. "I do need to hear it. That's exactly why I need to hear it." She touched his arm gently. "Tell me about her. What does she love?" And Marcus found himself talking. About Emma's obsession with butterflies, how she'd named every one in the hospital garden. About her terrible jokes that made the nurses laugh. About how she insisted on reading bedtime stories to him now, reversing their old ritual, because she knew how exhausted he was. About how just that morning, she'd told him she wasn't afraid because, "Daddy, you've already given me the best life." He didn't realize he was crying until Sophie handed him a handkerchief embroidered with the letter C. "She sounds extraordinary," Sophie whispered, her own eyes glistening. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted at the front of the ballroom. Richard Castellano himself was taking the stage, commanding attention effortlessly. Marcus instinctively stepped back, but Sophie caught his hand. "Stay," she said. Castellano's speech started like all charity speeches, thanking donors, citing statistics, making the pitch. But then his voice changed, became softer. "4 years ago, I lost my wife to cancer," he said, and the room fell silent. "In her final days, she made me promise that our wealth wouldn't just be numbers in an account. She wanted it to mean something. To save lives I couldn't save. To give children the futures they deserve." Marcus felt Sophie's hand tighten around his. "Tonight," Castellano continued, "I'm not just asking for your donations. I'm asking you to see the faces behind the statistics. The parents working themselves to exhaustion. The children fighting battles no child should face. The families drowning in medical debt in what's supposed to be the richest nation on earth." He paused, scanning the crowd, and his eyes landed on Sophie. She gave him a small nod. "Tonight," I'm announcing the Castellano Foundation's new initiative, full medical coverage for 100 families currently struggling with pediatric cancer costs. No applications, no means testing, just help, when it's needed most. The crowd erupted in applause, but Marcus barely heard it over the roaring in his ears. 100 families. The number felt simultaneously enormous and impossibly small. Furthermore, Castellano said, and something in his voice made Marcus focus again, my daughter Sophie has been researching families in need. She's identified our first family. His eyes found Marcus in the crowd. Marcus Webb, would you please join me on stage? Marcus's legs wouldn't move. This couldn't be happening. Sophie gave him a gentle push. Go on, Dad, she whispered, and the word shattered something in Marcus's chest. Somehow, he made it to the stage. Up close, Richard Castellano was both more intimidating and more human than Marcus expected. Mr. Webb, Castellano said, his voice thick with emotion, my daughter tells me you're fighting for your little girl with everything you have. That you work 2 jobs, that you've sold everything you own, that you've done what any father would do, anything and everything. He paused. But you shouldn't have to. Not in this country. Not when people like me can help. Castellano pulled out an envelope. Your family's medical bills, all of them, are paid. Effective immediately. And Emma will receive the best care available for as long as she needs it. Marcus's knees buckled. Castellano caught him, holding him steady. I can't, Marcus choked out. Why? You don't even know us. Because my daughter does, Castellano said simply. Sophie lost her mother. She knows what it is to watch cancer steal someone you love. And she knows what matters. He glanced at Sophie, pride radiating from his face. She spends her evenings researching families, reading stories, finding people like you. Because she knows that wealth means nothing if we don't use it to lighten the loads of those struggling. Sophie had joined them on stage. She took Marcus's hand again. You called me, Dad, back there, Marcus said to her through his tears. Did I? Sophie smiled. I suppose I did. Because tonight, you reminded me what a real father is. Not someone with money or power, but someone who would do anything, sacrifice everything, for their child. My mother used to say that's the purest form of love in the world. Marcus pulled Sophie into a hug, this young woman he'd met 30 minutes ago who'd just changed his family's life forever. The ballroom erupted in applause again, but Marcus was thinking only of Emma, of racing back to the hospital to tell her that everything, finally, miraculously, was going to be okay. As the crowd pressed forward with congratulations, Marcus caught Castellano's eye over Sophie's shoulder. Thank you, he mouthed. Castellano nodded, understanding passing between 2 fathers across all the money and power that separated them. Because some things, love for a child, the desperation to save them, the willingness to sacrifice everything, transcended every barrier. Later that night, Marcus sat beside Emma's hospital bed, holding her hand while she slept. He'd told her everything, watching her eyes go wide with wonder and hope. Now, in the quiet dark, he thought about Sophie calling him, Dad, about how a single moment of human connection had changed everything. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Daddy, did I dream it? No, baby girl, Marcus whispered. It's all real. I knew the princess was real, Emma murmured, already drifting back to sleep. I knew she'd help us. Marcus smiled through his tears. His daughter had always believed in fairy tales, in happy endings, in the basic goodness of humanity. And tonight, impossibly, beautifully, the world had proven her right. Sometimes, he realized, struggling single dads do walk into charity galas. And sometimes, billionaires' daughters who've never met them recognize a kindred spirit, someone who understands that love, in the end, is the only thing that truly matters. Sometimes, in a world that can feel cold and indifferent, strangers become family in the span of a heartbeat. And sometimes, just sometimes, the princess in the ballroom really does save the day.